Hello everybody. Hey, after I posted the last video where I'm now, sharing basically what the brain sync frequencies are doing and how to utilize them and so on, I just felt like I needed to meditate. So I went ahead and I meditated, and something that came through really clear was, for some reason, Kabbalah. And I had no clue what Kabbalah is. So once I wrote down everything that I had came to the knowing as soon as I came out of meditation, I went ahead and went to the internet and looked up some information to try to figure out what is this message. Now, granted, I'm very careful on how I look up information on the internet, especially if I receive it through meditation, because last thing I don't want is any negative influence to blur my vision, if you will. And so I went ahead and I looked up Kabbalah, which is basically, it's like, and for the Jewish people in the world, please understand, this is the layman terms that I'm using. So if I'm not using the exact pronunciation or exact terminology, realize this just came to me through meditation, of trying to be the best human being I can possibly be. I mean, I'm someone who literally gave away everything, sold everything I own that I didn't give away, which was basically just my home. All my possessions I pretty much gave away. And I've been traveling the world just giving love to people who need it the most. So if you find yourself, critiquing exactly how I'm pronouncing something or the words I'm using, please just stop and think with your heart. Realize what I'm doing is out of pure love. I have absolutely zero ill intentions. I'm not trying to say one religion's right or another religion, is wrong. Nothing. Because honestly, I know that there's a ton of truths in all religions. And so I look up Kabbalah, and it happens to end up being the Jewish mysticism. It's like a Bible that is the higher echelon of wisdom, if you will, that goes kind of all the way back to Adam and Eve. And please research it. I'll put a link in the description here so that you can do some research, so you can see the way I found it and so on. But then once I thought about it and I read about it, and I realized that it's actually not supposed to be in the old tradition. It's not supposed to be practiced until you're at least 40 years old, because your brain might not be able to handle it, and so on and so on. So I thought about that, and then I thought about, because mysticism, I thought about, well, what about magic, or what about Masons, or all these things, that there is definitely a different echelon that you have to go through before you're able to be taught the wisdom, if you will. And even Buddhism, there's different steps that you have to go through. Catholic, religion, there's different steps you have to go through. All these religions have very distinctive steps. Islam, and so on and so on. And it made me start thinking about how truly all of them are connected. They're all basically saying the same thing. They're all basically describing consciousness and how to achieve your consciousness. So then I looked at realms, and want to see something interesting? Start looking up how many realms there are and what the realms are in science, in consciousness, in Buddhism, in Islam, in Judaism, in Christianity. you're going to start seeing a pattern. And in all actuality, the Kabbalah, the received or tradition, starts getting into something even further that's called the paradise, that goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, and I believe it's described as the orchard, not an orchard like the trees grow into. It's basically way deeper than that. But please research it yourself. Don't take my word for anything. I'm just giving you guys, if you will, a key for you to find your own truths. And one thing I keep coming back to is, like in Judaism, from the flesh I perceive the divine. I mean, that's in the Torah. And if you can perceive the divine from in the flesh, now think about Jesus Christ. The last thing, the very last thing, depending on what version you read, he said was, "Why have you abandoned me? Why have you forsaken me?" Which has been interpreted, that was the physical self of him dying. But I've listened to the Jesus, stories. I've listened to the New Testament. And one thing I definitely know is the Kabbalah is in the Jesus story and vice versa. And whether you take like Ceremonial Magick, you take all of Buddhism, you take all of them, they truly are in the Jesus story. And what keeps resonating with me, and what keeps, to me, making it so perfectly clear, and why I recommend everybody listen to the Jesus story, is there isn't really one thing that, the Jesus story tries to keep back from you. You look at, like, the Kabbalah. You have to be 40 years old. You look at Ceremonial Magick. There's echelons. You look at Buddhism. Being a monk and all of these different things. Islam and everything. You have to work towards, and you have to, sacrifice, and you have to do all of this. But the Jesus story, what Jesus is saying, the commandments, if you will, it tells you must love your neighbor like you do yourself, and love your enemy. Now, that's only a perception that you have to change. You don't have to give up anything. You feasibly don't have to sacrifice. All you have to do is recognize the divine within you. Historically, it's been said, hell is a prisoner of your own guilt. But in all actuality, it's a prisoner of your own negative perception. Because there is not a single experience in this world that you can't choose to perceive as positive. And if you can't, ask me. I can point out way more things positive that came from that experience than you can point out negative. And your Creator loves you so much that those negative perceptions keep knocking on your door. That's why they're the easiest memories to pull up. Because the Creator within you doesn't want you to be unhappy, doesn't want you to feel sadness, doesn't want you to feel guilt, doesn't want you to have any of this negative experience anymore. So it keeps reminding you, please find the positive within this. Now you start understanding the gateway to gaining your consciousness. Now you start understanding why, like the videos, are called gateway meditation. Now you understand how the frequencies. Now you realize clear back in Adam and Eve, not only was Adam given the writings, but he's also told what they meant. Oral tradition, frequencies, and within these writings, there's very specific vibrations, very specific patterns. No Jewish person would disagree with this. I mean, there's divine energy in the writings. Now, stop and think about, say, Ceremonial Magick. There is divine energy within the writings. Now think about the New Testament and the Old Testament. Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and so on and so on. Will agree that, well, definitely in the Old Testament there's divine energy in there within the writings. So now go back to the statement about thou shalt not judge and shalt love thy neighbor. Why in the world do we feel that another religion is wrong instead of accepting and finding the truth within all religions? And the thing is, through Jesus Christ's words, he very specifically tells you how to find the truth in everything. But the only way you're going to understand what the riddles are saying is once you've done what he says. He says, give up your life. What does that mean? That means basically stop feeling sorry for yourself. Admit all the lies you're telling yourself on a daily basis. Bear your own cross. You know? Admit your wrongdoings. Be humble. Lose the ego. And then give your money to the poor. And in simple terms, then you shall become one with me. You know, you look at in the Kabbalah where it says, from my flesh I perceive the divine. Because we all, whatever your beliefs are, wherever your energy, whatever your God is within you, because none of us have the right to tell you what it is. The only thing you can do is figure out your truth for yourself. But please, do not let what someone else tells you prevent you from finding all the truths. That's the 20% of the brain creating that fear. Because if you truly listen to the Jesus Christ story, he even says, you know, in essence, don't go to the ones in robes. They've already received their reward. Church is merely talking about the truths from within your soul. You don't have to go to a church to learn your truths. All you have to do is choose to do the right thing. And from the beginning of my channel, I've said that the way I finally woke up was when I finally chose to give unconditional and deserving love to somebody who literally was doing everything in her power to destroy my life based off a lie that she was telling herself. And when all I did was felt empathy and sympathy for her and what she was going through, because I never blamed her for all her psychological, her illusional problems. I know where it came from. It came from her childhood and her lack of support from her family and being thrown through the system over and over and over again. And because of that, I chose to just give her more love instead of fighting fire with fire. And that's how I started learning the truths. I started realizing this truly is how we're supposed to be. And then Find the truths within your religion. You know in your heart something that's bothered you. For example, for me, when I was brought up Catholic, I had heard God is a jealous God. To me, that always just didn't make sense. I was like, God's a jealous God. Why would God be jealous? But now that I'm fully conscious, I understand what that means. A non-conscious person would see the fear in it. Just like, I do not fear God, I love God. And what is God to me? Well, what I feel in my soul. Just like, what is God to you? Whatever you feel in your soul. I can't tell you. I can't judge you. It's not my place to. But we all know this. And if you look at this, the condition of the world, you look at what's going on in Israel, you know, with Hamas and the Palestinians, you look at what's going on in Russia. I mean, by the way, look up the presidential symbol of Russia. It is a white horseman with the steel rod stabbing a European dragon. I can't make this stuff up because it is in the book of Revelations. But I'm not here to preach to you. All I'm here to do is try to get you guys to please choose to start finding your truths. They're right in front of you. And everything in this world is pointing towards, on a increasing, on a light speed, if you will, that manifestation, law of power of attraction, even alien, extraterrestrial, whatever, all in all is starting to become more and more kind of fact-based. Now, stop and think about AI and the concern that the world is having about AI. Well, AI, what I consider cumulative intelligence, not artificial intelligence, because the programmers are limited. They can only create and combine their intelligence to a faster intelligence, if you will. So, for example, if amazing approach that I've been able to take is when I'm trying to learn all the traits of each religion and compare them and similarities and so on and so on and so on, AI feeds me all this information because it knows, hey, if you ask a question, you must want to know this. So it pulls from all the information in the clouds, if you will, and gives it to me, whether it be truthful or not, because AI is incapable of finding the truths. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the truth, the only one real truth, comes between you and your God. And obviously, AI is incapable of knowing that. But your truth in the illusion, AI can definitely create that for you. Because what is your truth within your illusion, within your 20% of the brain that we say we use? It's a conglomeration of memories. What you've been taught as a child, how your parents have, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents have introduced more and more negative to protect you. Things to be fearful of in this world. Social media introduces you to all this negativity. Your brain picks it up to try to protect you. So your truths become a reality from the brain once it's received enough supporting information. Now, let's stop and think. We don't know when the world's coming to an end. We don't know when the Son of Man is returning. If you actually listen to the words, it makes you question, is that possibly because somebody in the world has to actually listen to what the words are saying, be able to hear what the words are saying, just like the Kabbalah? You have to be wise enough to understand what the words are saying. And then someone has to choose. Now, manifestation. You know, it's becoming a proven fact. Research it. Look at your religions. They support it. So please, stop and think on a deeper level what I'm saying. Stop and face reality on reality's terms. Realize your comforts really aren't comforts. They're artificial. Because sooner or later they're going to be gone. And if you're Buddhist, if you want to hit nirvana, wake up. That way you don't have to keep reliving this over and over and over again. And the great thing about the Jesus story, he tells it all to you right there. And he asks nothing of you other than to love yourself, find the God within you, love unconditionally, because that means you'll love your neighbor the same way. Otherwise, you're feeling sorry for yourself. So please, world, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Now is the time to wake up. I know a tremendous amount of us will choose not to. It's just, it is what it is. But anyway, I love you guys, and please, if you picked up anything from what I'm saying, if you, the slightest bit of connection, understanding what I'm saying, that it is all telling the same story. We are all connected. Divine energy is within all of us. I can go on with this for hours and hours and hours, but I cannot force anybody to listen. Kind of like the old saying. Let's use a more worldly term. You can force a camel to water, but you can't make him drink. I love you. Until next time. Bye-bye.